Oh my word, what a hockey game. My goodness, like the Vancouver Canucks, 3 straight wins against 3 unbelievably tough teams to beat. I mean, you know, they go into New Jersey. Sorry, it's 4 straight wins. I messed up the title. 4 straight huge wins. Let me fix this. 4 straight huge wins on a road trip that felt like if there was going to be a place for the wheels to come off the wagon just a little bit, right? Whether we talk about the absolutely hot start the Canucks had at the beginning of the year, that little slump for a month or so where they win one, lost one for quite a while. This felt like, hey, 7-game road trip, tough opponents, right? You're going to New Jersey, or sorry, you start in St. Louis, you go to New Jersey, you go to New York, you play the 2 teams there, then you play Pittsburgh, right? Of this road trip, you looked at it and like, okay, well, maybe they can beat, they can probably beat the Blues, they can probably beat the Sabres, they can probably beat Columbus. The 4 in the middle are going to be tough. Well, the 4 in the middle are the games that the Canucks just absolutely went and tore it up, right? I mean, we talk about that Devils game where the Canucks just put their foot on the absolute gas. How about, taking down the Rangers 6-3, the Islanders 5-2, and then tonight they keep up their streak of being undefeated when leading after 2 periods, something like 25-0-0 now, which is, it's ludicrous, really. And boy, did they make it interesting at the very end with, of course, Pittsburgh tying it up with about 28 seconds to go. I went into that overtime. I had the jitters in that third period. Like I was like, come on, please score. Please, like, don't lose this game. And then Crosby scored. I was like, man, okay, let's take it in overtime. Come on, please. And, they did it. They did it because this team has so much resolve and they're just so talented, so much skill. You'll notice where every single goal came from tonight. And that is the Lotto line. That line is absolutely carrying this Canucks team right now. And keep them together forever at this point, right? Add a 2C, go get somebody, and let's make it interesting. Because that's where we're at right now. Oh, too much zoom. Pull it back a little bit. I don't know if that did anything. Either way, it's good to be here. Some of you might have heard that SDPN shut down the Game Over program, essentially all 7 markets. So my thoughts go to everyone that was affected by that, obviously myself included, although I barely include myself in that because I did, 11 shows, and, it was a fun time, but I still, I have a fallback here, right? I work full time. It's not like it was my main job. And I still have you guys here on my channel to come back to, and it feels like I'm home, and I'm happy to be home. We'll go maybe more into that in the Q&A section a little bit later. We're going to start with a good old breakdown, step by step through the entire game here tonight. Of course, you'll get my pluses and minuses, and then we'll go to you, the people. I haven't done a live one of these on my own channel since the first game of the year, the Oilers game, 8-1, that one. And I wanted to do more of a video focus, but I figured tonight of all nights, let's do it live. Why not? So let's break down this game. Let me grab my notes here. Canucks, Penguins, first period, and the Lotto line opens it up. 5.5 minutes in. It's just a quick play. It's a quick breakout from the Canucks zone. I believe Hronik led the breakout, played it around. They break into the zone. Elias Pettersson coming down the left wing, hits the brakes, makes a nice little move to retain possession of the puck. Have you noticed that when Elias Pettersson plays with good players, he plays with so much more confidence, and he feels like he can be, interesting to watch, like create some things, make some moves, and beat guys. And he does it here, right? He makes that nice little move. Brock Besser's driving the net, and Elias Pettersson is, he's so good at making those passes, right? Ripping it back door. Besser taps it in. His 26th goal of the season to make it 1-0. Fantastic. Canucks go to the power play right after that. Sidney Crosby trips Carson Soucy. And the Canucks double right up pretty quickly here. They set up in the offensive zone. JT Miller does his classic, comes up to the left point as they all rotate around. Sometimes JT Miller ends up at the left point. He gets the pass, and he's got a little bit of space. So he does his patented, just, skate downhill, driving towards the net. And he has an unbelievably dangerous shot from that position, right? He's got momentum going towards the net. He has some space. How many times do we see him just beat goalies, right? So the goalie is dialed, right? Like, okay, this shot is most likely coming out to make the save. And what does he do? Loads up, fires it right at the stick once again of Brock Besser. He redirects it home to make it 2-0. And a shout out. Look, Andrei Kuzmenko doesn't get a point on this play. I mean, it's Besser from Miller and Pettersson, and the first goal was Besser from Pettersson and Miller, the three of them just feeding each other points. Kuzmenko doesn't get anything out of this, but what a screen on his part, right? He's perfectly in front of Nedeljkovic, just completely breaking everything up, completely getting in the way of his eye line, and it was perfect. Perfect play by Kuzmenko, perfect play for the Canucks. Shortly after that, so the Canucks are up 2-0. Zadorov boards Riley Smith, who gets hurt, maybe a wrist thing, going into the boards that awkwardly, not very pleasant. No call on this, kind of surprising. Canucks should have been shorthanded. And then right after, though, Mikheyev takes down Jake Gensel, and the Canucks go to the PK. This penalty kill from the Vancouver Canucks was phenomenal. This first penalty kill. They absolutely smothered the Penguins. They kept everything outside of the zone. The Penguins just couldn't get in the zone. They had one chance this entire power play, and it was of getting Malkin on a rebound that sort of was rolling, and he fluttered it wide. A phenomenal penalty kill, genuinely. If you're allowing a single scoring chance against, a team as talented as the Penguins, great job. Penguins do get one back, under 4 minutes to go. It's the other Pettersson. It's Marcus Pettersson. Just a point shot, gets a piece of Pius Suter's skate, gets past Demko. Of course, the Canucks are allowing the first goal of a year to a player because it's just what they do. It's what they're good at. They get one back. So it's 2-1. And then the Canucks decide, well, why don't we just deflect another shot in, right? Besser's tipped 2 home. And then JT Miller does some really good work down low. Bank pass off the wall to Filip Hronek, who's waiting. And he fires it. Elias Pettersson pulls it back on the tip, so it slides just inside the post to make it 3-1. There have been 4 goals in the first period, not a single one on a clean shot. Every single one got deflected. And that's how you score in today's NHL. And that would be the last goal Nedeljkovic allowed because he got pulled to start the second period. But genuinely, very good first period from the Canucks. I mean, that third goal was on their 7th shot of the game. So PDO merchants rolling. The shots end up being 10-9 in favor of Pittsburgh at the end of the first period. But analytically, where were they? Canucks were the better team analytically, at least in all situations. 5-on-5, 64% expected goals for. All situations, 56% expected goals for the Vancouver Canucks. So they were the better team in the first period. And the key there is the high danger chances. 5 for the Canucks, 2 for the Pens in the first period. On to the second. Second period. Tristan Jarry's in to start the second period. Silly me starting Nedeljkovic on my fantasy team today. I should have known the PDO Kings would light him up. 6 minutes in, Canucks absolutely running the pace of play to start this period, and the play goes the other way. 2-on-1, Sidney Crosby with somebody else that doesn't matter because the defender goes to that other person. Crosby just rips the shot past Demko. Crosby is having an unbelievable season. I mean, he's got 23 goals. That was his 23rd. He has 24 now because he scored again later. More goals than assists, which I don't think Crosby's ever done, which is, good for him. He beats Demko Glove's side, the first clean goal of the game to make it 3-2. And a minute later, the Pens just start pressing after that. They take that momentum. They build on it. We have Erik Karlsson with a prime opportunity that he rips off the post. Demko gets a little bit lucky there. And then going farther into the period, Hughes takes a bad delay of game penalty. He just goes on the backhand, trying to clear it, and he puts it over the glass with 5 minutes to play. And how about, once again, this Vancouver Canucks penalty kill? Teddy Blueger wins the faceoff, which by default kills about 15 seconds. Puck gets played down into the Penguin zone, and Teddy Blueger wins the puck back and pins the puck to the wall for another 15 seconds. So by the time the Penguins even enter the Canucks zone, there's like 40 seconds gone. So very good work by Teddy Blueger. And the Canucks do a really good job of killing this one also. I mean, no real chances given up by the Canucks on this power play. On the penalty kill. Very, very good on the Canucks side. It was essentially a tale of two halves, the second period. The Canucks ran the first half. The Penguins ran the second half. Only blood drawn was by Crosby. He gets his 23rd of the year, and a rare second period loss for the Canucks, right? They have been so dominant in second periods all season long. This one goes the other way. Shots were 12-10 in favor of Vancouver. Again, pretty even period, though, all the way through. On to the third. Penguins go to the power play 5 minutes in, and this is JT Miller getting a little bit undisciplined. He's clearly frustrated by the faceoff. He lost the faceoff then. There was some talk back and forth, and the ref dropped the puck, and they blew it down, and he seemed mad that that faceoff went the way it did. Crosby wins the faceoff cleanly, and Miller just gives him two hands to the back. I think Crosby embellished it a little bit, like he kind of like threw the head forward as if it was a headshot. It was in the back, but whatever. It's still a penalty. Canucks go to the PK, and this was the Penguins' best power play of the game. This is the first time that they actually looked dangerous. The Canucks were on their heels the whole way, but they stayed structured. They kept everything to the outside, and they survived. And that's all you have to do. They're up a goal, and that's how this Canucks team has made their money this year, has been getting leads and just hanging on to them and smothering the opposition. And that penalty kill wasn't pretty, but it worked, and that's really the most important part. Brock Besser, with 9 minutes to go, rips one off the post. That would have been big. And then we get, finally, a little bit of heart in this game, right? A little bit of spiciness. JT Miller gets tangled up with Chris Letang at center ice. If you watch, I know the Stanchion tweeted this out, the clip of Letang trying to chase down Miller. Miller sort of throws the arm up, like throws the elbow up, and it hits Letang right here. And Letang throws the head back violently. So that was kind of lame. Could have been penalties both way. Nothing gets called. And then Sidney Crosby goes after Quinn Hughes, gives him a bit of a shot. Hughes is a little slow to get up. And then Garland, the plays at center ice, Eller dumps it in deep, and then Garland checks him right after he does that. Clean hit. He gave him a bump as there's some physicality getting in this game. And that makes Eller mad, and he just goes and cross-checks Garland, just gives him a retaliatory shot. And the Canucks have a power play with 8 minutes to go. Very ill-advised on the Penguins side. So the Canucks go to the PP, and they do nothing. First minute 20, the first unit does absolutely nothing. Second unit comes back on for the last little bit. They do some good work, but they can't capitalize. So we're in the last 5 minutes or so. And then Thatcher Demko decides that he is going to be a monster. Sidney Crosby ends up alone in front from a broken play down low. Puck came up front. Sidney Crosby's there completely by himself. Not the guy you want there if you're the Canucks. Makes a really nice move to the forehand, and Thatcher Demko sends that leg out to the left and makes a phenomenal save. Like an unbelievable save from Demko. So that keeps it tied up. And then right after that, Hronek holds Sidney Crosby, sort of got the arm in there. It's a penalty. So the Penguins go to the power play, looking to tie with 5 minutes to go. And this Canucks penalty kill, once again, survives. Demko makes another big stop. Carlson sort of went for a bank pass off the corner boards. He went at the defenseman. They got tied up. Puck came to Jake Gensel, who was all by himself. Demko makes a really good stop on that shot. And it's just overall, it's a huge kill. Again, it looked very scary. Demko made 2 or 3 critical saves on that penalty kill to keep it tied. And then penalty's over. 2 minutes to go. Penguins pull their goalie. And Thatcher Demko makes his save of the game. It's a one-timer. I don't remember who took the shot, but Demko sliding over makes the glove stop. I mean, any other goalie is flashing the leather there. Like they are full windmill, end up sitting back like they just made an unreal save. Demko just makes the glove save, keeps it tight. He's not flashy. Job's not done. So that's with about 1:05 to go. Penguins take their timeout. It's a really long timeout. And then Elias Pettersson, as the Penguins are pressing, Pettersson gets the puck behind the Canucks net with 33 seconds to go, and he just tries to fire it down because they need a whistle, and it misses the net just barely. It got on edge. It started rolling towards the net and ended up rolling right around it for an icing. So 33 seconds to go. Penguins have an opportunity. Face-off in the offensive zone. Crosby wins the face-off back, and then the shot from the point goes off of, I think, Tyler Myers' stick, and then it goes off the pant leg of Sidney Crosby and goes in. So Thatcher Demko, that's 3 goals allowed in this game. 2 of them off some janky deflections. And then, because the Pettersson shot got tipped off of Pius-Suter's skate. Crosby's second goal, again, was off of his pant leg and off of Tyler Myers. The second goal was just a great shot by Crosby. So Demko got beat. Can't really blame him for that one. Canucks got to do a better job clearing the front of the net, and Pettersson has to win that faceoff. That's the that's the big thing in that scenario, right? The Canucks win that faceoff, the game is essentially over, right? You try to get it out to center, you clear it down, maybe hit the empty net, and that's the ball game. But score effects put that third period at shots 14-5 in favor of Pittsburgh. Absolutely dominant in their favor. Unfortunately, natural stat trick. Now it's updated. Even though the shots were 14-5, high danger chances were 9-4 in favor of Pittsburgh. The expected goals were actually pretty even, 55-45 percentage wise. So the Canucks did okay in the third period. Again, just a weird goal that gets past Demko late in the third. So I'm there stressing. I'm like, I don't want to. I've been so amped up for the stream all day, and I'm like excited, and I just need the Canucks to win. And we go to overtime. And boy, oh boy, have Canucks overtimes been boring lately. Canucks get the puck first, ends up with a JT Miller shot that gets stopped by Tristan Jarry. Kind of a weak shot attempt. I'd like a bit more pressure to get built up, but that got stopped. Pittsburgh kind of loosey-goosey with the puck. We end up with the Tyler Myers chance that gets stopped, and then Brian Rust takes it the other way, and puck must stand up on end because he misses the net. And then best chance of the overtime for Pittsburgh was Jake Gensel. He cut in with a little chance. Demko made a really good stop there to keep this game tied. And then Pittsburgh's moving back into the Canucks zone. They very, very, very clearly have 4 guys on the ice. No call. But in the scramble to get a guy off, Canucks get the puck. Phil Hronek fires it to Elias Pettersson, who is standing at center ice, goes in on a breakaway. Goes backhand, forehand, tries to tuck it in, and it just sneaks through Tristan Jarry to wrap this game up. At 4-3, your Canucks win it in a thriller. Genuinely, that game had everything, right? Like the Canucks took the lead, as they have done so many times this season. Scoring first has been their MO. But Pittsburgh made it interesting. The Canucks got 2 points. It was against an Eastern Conference team, so the loser point doesn't matter at all. And that puts the Canucks, hold on, how's Winnipeg doing today? How are the Winnipeg Jets doing? The Winnipeg Jets are losing 1-0 to the Chicago Blackhawks with 12 minutes to go, somehow. That's shocking. Which means, as of right now, at the very least, at least by points, the Vancouver Canucks are number 1 in the NHL once again. I mean, their split's unreal, right? 14-4-1 at home, 14-7-2 on the road. This team's killing it. They're absolutely killing it. And it's a blast to watch. Let's get into my pluses and minuses, my overall thoughts for the game. However, if you have questions, this is the time to put them in the chat. I'm ready to queue them up. I don't think I have a way to favorite them. Maybe if I can figure out how to do that. So yeah. Put in any questions that you have in the chat, and we'll get to those after my pluses and minuses. I don't have a ton in this game. Honestly, I spent a lot of this game. Normally I'm taking a lot of notes. Like I take a lot of notes, but I like to really focus on like, what did I like? What did I not like about the Canucks game? But I was so invested just watching that I didn't take as many notes on that front tonight. And my notes are pretty simple. We'll start. I really have a single minus in this game, right? The way the Canucks played, they felt like the better team out there. Expected goals wise was essentially 50-50. And for the Canucks being on stop number 5 of a hard 7-game road trip, and to be absolutely tearing it up, you'd expect them to have a couple slow efforts, and we just haven't seen that yet. So it's hard for me to be hard on them at all during this game. My only minus really is the second line. It just doesn't have jump, right? Mikheyev, Kuzmenko, and Pius-Suter. You've got 2 really skilled players. Kuzmenko's obviously got lots of talent. Mikheyev's got the legs, which we really haven't seen a lot so far this year. And Pius-Suter is so good defensively. Except the goal that he tipped in off of a skate. But that line just needs some juice. I've always been tentative to say, go sell the farm. Let's go all in here. But at what point do you watch this team that is now 27, 11, and 3, their best record they've ever had, or at least tied with it? 57 points through 41 games. That hasn't updated yet. 59 points. I guess I can do the math myself. 59 points through 42 games, right? I mean, it's 114, 115 point pace that this team's on right now. I mean, yeah, I've seen enough. What do the Canucks need desperately? I mean, let's go piece by piece, right? You got Demko to Smith in the back end. Great. Your defense is starting to look pretty good, right? With Ian Cole in the lineup and Noah Juleson out, you got an absolutely decent defense group, which is great for this team. And if someone goes down, you do have Noah Juleson to step in, and he's been pretty good. And you up front, let's go bottom up, right? Let's look at that fourth line. Fourth line's fine, right? I mean, you got Oman, you got Lafferty. They're doing okay down there. And they only play 10 minutes a game. You go to that third line. It's one of the best in hockey right now, right? With Joshua Blueger and Garland. And the first line, if you keep them together, the Lotto line, Pettersson, Besser, and Miller are absolutely unbelievably unstoppable right now. That hole's in the second line, right? Like, that's just where it is. If you can add a second line center, a skilled second line center to skate alongside Ilya Mikheyev and Andrei Kuzmenko, that does a lot for the team. Because think of what it does to the bottom of the lineup too, right? It moves Pius Suter down to a fourth line role. And now you can have a fourth line and a third line that's split time. And man, that's a weapon of a team. Is it a cup winning team? I mean, the odds makers don't think they're there yet. And I think that's fair. Usually most teams don't make it to the dance on their first kick at the can, but yeah, I mean, at what point do you just say, screw it, let's go? And that's where the Canucks would need to add. So that's my 1-. That's the only negative thing I have to say about this game. I mean, sure, it sucks that they blew the lead, but I mean, what a fluky shot, right? The Canucks have, normally I'd say, in past years, like, oh, of course you blew the lead. You sat back on your heels the entire third period. But the Canucks have done that so many times going to the third period, and they haven't lost a game that they've led after 2. It's a formula that works. I can't complain about it. And sure, it failed tonight for like the first or second time all season long. The sample's there to say, hey, I can't criticize the way they're playing. I mean, it's a weird deflection goal that double doinks and gets past Demko. So on the plus side, I mean, my goodness, the Lotto line's unbelievable. They are just racking up points, absolutely dominating everybody. At some point, will people, get the book on the Lotto line and maybe, prevent them from being this dominant? Maybe this is short-lived, but what a time for it to be working, right? On the hardest trip of the season. Pettersson looks like himself when he's playing with these guys. It doesn't look like he's, sort of holding himself back to focus on the defensive side in case something goes wrong, when he's playing with line mates that maybe he can't trust as much, like Sam Lafferty, for example. Pettersson knows, hey, I can go be my deking, fantastically skilled self, and I've got the backup, right? If I can get it to these guys, it's going to work. They're going to score, and it's just awesome to watch. The third line gets a bunch of credit for me again tonight. Connor Garland was unbelievable in this game. He was all over the place. Thatcher Demko, I mean, the stats are not going to do it justice for Thatcher Demko tonight. I mean, what is it? 3 goals on 35 shots. So a 9-14 for Demko, who came in with a 9-16. Oh no, this is after. So he might have been at a 9-17 before this game. So essentially an average game for Thatcher Demko's standards. But that doesn't tell the story, right? He got beat on 1 shot. That's Sidney Crosby's shot, right? The other 2 were weird deflections. One off of Pius Suter's skate, the other one off of Myers, off of Crosby and in. And sure, those tip goals happen, and we saw the Canucks get a couple of them tonight. That's why I don't think Nedeljkovic was bad, right? I mean, sure, he lets in 3 goals in the first period, but they're all deflections. Demko was fantastic. He's the reason that game, I mean, he was almost the reason the Canucks won in overtime. Of course, that one gets by, but he's the reason that they didn't lose it in overtime, and he's the reason that the Canucks didn't lose it in regulation with how well that he played. The clutch factor from Elias Pettersson gets a big plus from me. Again, I talked about the Lotto line and his skill already, but man, he's coming up at big moments, eh? I mean, a 4-point night, including the overtime winner. He had 5 shots. He was 60% in the faceoff circle when guys like JT Miller weren't doing it, right? Miller had a 28.6% night in the draw. How about Teddy Blueger at 83%? But Pettersson had to do some work, and he came up big when he needed to, and he scores that big goal. And yeah, good players are good when they need to be. And my last big plus of the night is the penalty kill. That penalty kill from the Vancouver Canucks. Canucks only get 2 power play opportunities. They capitalize on one of them, and they have 4 penalty kills, and they smothered them. They absolutely smothered the Penguins. The Penguins had good chances on 1, maybe 1.5 of their power plays. The Canucks were absolutely smothering, and their penalty kills look pretty good lately. And that's the reason that, it's a big reason why they won this game. So big shout out to the penalty kill. 4 straight wins for the Vancouver Canucks, top of the NHL, at least until the end of this Winnipeg Jets game, if they can pull it back. But as of right now, checking again, they are still down 1-0 to the Chicago Blackhawks, thanks to a goal from Connor Murphy. And with that, let's go to the people. I've been talking for 26 minutes. I don't know how I talk that much. But folks, let's go to the people. I'm going to scroll up a bit because I asked for questions and there's been about 15, 20 comments since. So we're going to get through this. This is going to be last call for questions, because I only maybe have about 15, 20 minutes here. So get your questions in. I'll try to get to all of them. If they're good questions. I'm going to scroll up and see if there was any at the very beginning. Doesn't look like it. We'll go to where I asked. And we start with Fangirl saying, how far do you think the Canucks can go in the playoffs? Look, the way this team's playing, they can beat anybody, but it's an any given Sunday sort of thing, right? Based on the way things are shaking up in the NHL, if the Canucks can hold on to this top spot, now I'm going to use the Athletics odds, and keep in mind this is before this game. They have the Athletic has the Canucks at a 45% chance to outright win the division. And if they win the division, it's either them or Winnipeg, and they're playing one of the wildcard teams, which right now looks like it could be LA, it could be Edmonton, it could be Vegas, or it could be Minnesota, right? or maybe Nashville, if Nashville sneaks in. It's essentially going to be, I guess it could be Seattle if they find some sort of miracle. I think they have a decent shot in the first round. I mean, you obviously don't want to run into like Edmonton or even LA, I don't think, in the first round, or Vegas, of course. I think you really want to be playing a team like Minnesota in the first round, which I think is why coming first in the conference is so critical. Because the difference between being first in the conference and being second in the conference is the difference between playing Vegas and playing Minnesota, or playing Vegas or playing Edmonton and playing Nashville or Seattle. That's a big difference. So if you're scoreboard watching, there's an extra team to watch, and that is whoever's number 1 in the Central, which by a long shot right now is Winnipeg with how hot they are. I think they can do that. Round 2. I mean, that's the thing. The thing is, this team has the firepower to beat anybody. But I think this is a team that's probably a second round team right now. However, they've got the goaltending to, win a couple games, right? Steal a couple games. They've got the firepower to steal a couple games with the Lotto line or Pettersson or Miller, whoever you want, right? This third line can steal you a game if they want to. You steal enough games, maybe you can take another round, and we'll see how far they can take it. Is this team capable of going all the way? Sure. The Athletics predictions are something like 50% chance they make it to the second round. Which is kind of half. And then 22% chance they make it to the third round, 9% chance to make it to the Cup final. But that's because the Canucks haven't been successful the last couple of years, right? That's obviously taken into account. But the way they're playing, there's no reason to think that this team can't do something special. All right. What else do we got here? Agam says, name one player you think the Canucks need. Personally, I think a second line center is so needed. Yeah, and that's what I alluded to during my plus minus, and I know you probably put that comment in before I said it. But yeah, that's the target, right? I don't know who that target is. Obviously Jake Gensel's name's been floated around a lot. He feels expensive for what you're getting. I know he's a really good player, but I think, the cost of acquisition might be too high. I know a name like Lindholm will be floated, although I think Calgary would want to charge a lot for the Canucks to go make that move. Genuinely, I don't know. I don't have a specific name, but I think, a 2C is the clear and obvious runaway requirement for the Canucks. Alex says Pittsburgh looked pretty good. I don't know why there's rumors of Gensel getting traded. I mean, I'm not entirely sure either. He's good enough, and this team's going to be, they're probably going to be a playoff team. The Athletic has them at 81% chance to make the playoffs. But I also really respect the idea, if you're a GM, and in this case, you're Kyle Dubas, where, does this Pittsburgh team really look like they have the juice to win it all this year and beat teams like the Rangers, beat teams like Carolina, beat teams like the Bruins or the Panthers or even Toronto? I don't think so. Essentially they can keep they can keep Gensel. I mixed Gensel and Dubas. They can keep Gensel, but he'd essentially be their own rental, right? Or they can go out, get a bunch of assets for him, which I think is probably the smart move, if they are them. Dadman says, you see Demko's trip in overtime? I missed it. But if he trips someone, that's sick, and that adds to his allure for this game. Fantastic. Agam says, I was down for Zegras, but he's going to be out for a while. Maybe Eriksson, Ecker, Lindholm. Zegras, I think, is too young to add to, I think you probably want someone a little bit older, and that's really this entire Canucks forward group, right? It's guys mid to late 20s. Again, I don't know. I don't know if Zegras, he doesn't have that playoff. Man, I sound like an old hockey guy, but I don't know. He just doesn't have that. He doesn't have that playoff vibe for me yet. And obviously he's out. Eriksson, Ecker, Lindholm, they don't really excite me, but I totally get why they'd be decent names. Kills Graywall says, time to push all the chips in. I mean, yeah, I'm coming on board. Agam says, predict Elias Pettersson's upcoming contract. Whatever he wants. We talked about this a lot on Canucks After Dark on Monday, so if you missed that, feel free to go back and watch that. I'll even put the Canucks After Dark logo in the corner. YouTube.com/Canucks After Dark. We did talk about this at length. At this point, if he wants $100 million, give him $100 million. What, you're going to let him go? You're going to let Elias Pettersson walk with the way he's playing and how good he is? And I've said it all year long, man, Pettersson hasn't looked his best, but he's a player that I can't be worried about with how smart he is. And when you put him with skilled talent, my goodness, does he shine. And he showed it tonight. And the price goes up every single night that he does something like this. So yeah, if he wants $100 million, 12.5 over 8, screw it. Let's ride, right? Good teams, teams don't get into cap trouble by overpaying their top guys very often, right? You overpay Elias Pettersson by $1 million here or there. It's not the end of the world. It's overpaying the depth guys, which this management group has been very, very good at not doing. Go look at Cap Friendly and look at what the third and fourth line are making, right? I mean, you can exclude Connor Garland in that, but they didn't sign him. And I rest my case. If he wants whatever he wants, give it to him at this point. Murray says, it's great to have me back. Thank you. Downut says, Canucks got 105.2 PDO, which is crazy. Yeah, it's unheard of. This team is on an absurdly lucky run. Jacob says, do you think Bruce would do as well or slightly worse if he had the same roster? No one, it's impossible to say as well, because this is the best at this point. Their current record right now, they have never done before, except maybe 2010, 2011. I know last game after they won, they were tied with the 2010, 2011 team for points through 41 games. I don't know if that team won game 42, so I can't elaborate on that. But I can't say he'd do as well, because man, the way they're playing under Rick Tocchet, the style of play, they're still scoring all the goals that Bruce Boudreau promised and what he really delivered on. And that was what made at least that team fun. They're still scoring all the goals. They've scored more goals than anybody in the damn league. But when this team needs to shut teams down, they do it, right? That 25-0 record when leading after two, and the fact that they've led 25 times after two is unbelievable in its own right. But yeah, it's I don't think, Rick Tocchet's getting the most out of these guys, and he is a lock for the Jack Adams. Canuck Clay leading off his question by saying good question in all caps, which is a little full of yourself. Rank these 4 potential playoff opponents in order of scariness: Kings, Vegas, Edmonton, Nashville. Nashville's far and away at the bottom. Far and away at the bottom. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, to be honest. Cause it's either going to be them or Minnesota or like Seattle or Calgary. They all have about an even shot. So ranking them in order of scariness: Vegas is the most scary to me of this group. And, it's just Canucks historically have struggled against Vegas. Although Demko maybe can shut them down again like he did 4 years ago. Vegas is the top. Edmonton's number 2. The Kings, man, they're floundering. And Edmonton's hot right now. So it's easy to say Edmonton number 2, Kings at number 3, Preds at number 4 would be my ranking for scariness. Let's see here. Japan says, hey, it seems like we score so many goals in the first period. I think once we get a lead, we should put the lines back to normal so we don't struggle and give up leads. As in, break up the lotto line when the Canucks are ahead by a goal or two. In theory, I don't hate the idea, but the thing is it's still working. I mean, sure, they blew a lead tonight for the first time ever. But even then, it was a weird fluky goal. And they do mix it up late in the game, right? They put their defensive guys out there more. So I think, look, I'm just not going to question what Rick Talk is doing because it's working, and that's fine by me. Chris says Seattle versus Canucks round 1 would be amazing. Oh, that'd be so much fun. Oh, I'd have to go down to Seattle and pay $600 for a hockey ticket. Duck says Edmonton seems like a perfect matchup. Besides the top of the lineup, they have bad goaltending and bad depth. Yeah, just that, man. Draisaitl and McDavid just scare me. I feel like they can just steal a game or two. But yeah, it really does feel like the Canucks could score 7 goals a game against that Edmonton team. It feels like. Chris says after the season, if they lose in the first round, is the season a disappointment? For me, just making the playoffs is a success. Everything else is a bonus. Yeah, you got to have some perspective, right? Start of the year, what percent chance do the Canucks have, right? 54%, 58, I think is what the Athletic had them at. Most sports books were pretty close to 50-50. And so were we, right? I mean, Clay and I on Canucks After Dark, I think we predicted like 93 and 96 points or something along those lines for this team. This team or this season far and away is a success at this point, right? I mean, nobody thought they would play this well. Nobody thought they would be the top of the league at any point this year, except maybe after the first game, like just one game sample size, and they happen to have 2 points. Wow, they're top of the league. Nobody saw this coming. You could not have saw this coming. They're the best story in the NHL right now. I mean, them and Winnipeg, really, right? The 2 top teams in the NHL, and neither of them were expected to be this good. Yeah, look, teams, they get bumped in the playoffs, right? I mean, you're going to, if the Canucks go against an Edmonton or a Vegas in the first round, it's going to be a coin flip, really, right? That's what the odds makers will have it at. So it would be hard to me. I'd be upset, because I'd want to see what this Penguins team has. And I have this lingering fear that, like, what if they never do this again? Like, what if this is just the best they can be and they're all super lucky and this is our one shot, right? That's a fear that I have just because we've had so much pain the last, 10 years or so. So I'd be disappointed, but I don't think the season will be a disappointment, if that makes sense. Agam says, if you were all in, would you go all in this year or would you try to build on this summer instead? Rest of the league seems a bit mediocre. The thing is, all in doesn't mean all in, right? I mean, they need to make one move if they're buying, and they need to go get a number 2 center, and maybe they throw in another defenseman for some depth. What's that going to cost them? A first and a prospect, right? I mean, it's not really all in because you have another first next year if you're making the same push that you can give up again, and you can give up another prospect, right? Yeah, the teams that are good, they go all in 4, 5, 6 years in a row. And I think there's no reason for the Canucks not to start now. Winnipeg tied the game. That's my fault. That's my fault, guys. They won. Man, that's on me. That's on me. Wow, I really screwed that one up. Yeah, the Jets scored twice in the last 3.5 minutes. They played with their food a little bit, which sucks. Let's see here. Chef says, could Quinn convince his buddy Brady to request a trade to the Canucks for Kuzi and something? Man, that would be expensive to get Brady. I mean, he's fantastic, but I highly doubt that would happen. But it would be sweet. Dabnad, here we go. Highest PDO at the 41 game mark. The Canucks are 5th all time. That's pretty crazy. That's crazy. Like, are the Canucks the 5th most skilled team of all time? Probably not. There's a lot of luck there. So as we hit the 40-minute mark, I've hit all of the questions, at least the ones that I noticed. If I missed your question, I'm very sorry. as for where I stand currently, I mean, I'm live here for the first time in 3.5 months. Here's what I want to do, right? If you didn't hear, SDPN killed the Game Over program, essentially. It wasn't because of performance or anything like that. It was strictly financial. They had some sponsors drop out at the beginning of the year. They essentially didn't have the money to keep it going. So at this point, I figured, hey, I can now take that time that I was devoting there, which was about once every 4 games, and I can, I'm not personally really broken up about it. Like I wasn't too invested in it. I hadn't been there very long, and I've got, my own thing that I can fall back on, and I have Canucks After Dark every Monday with Clay still. But there are some people who, of course, it was a big part of their lives, and that sucks. But for myself, my plan is, especially after wins, which the Canucks are doing a lot of, I'd like to do more post games here, whether they are live or whether they are recorded. I haven't fully decided on that yet. The recorded ones tend to do better. They tend to be easier for me, but I also miss that little bit of interaction. So I think it'll be a bit of both, depending on the situation. The focus is, primarily it's probably going to be on wins more so than losses. And it's strictly because I am deathly afraid of the YouTube algorithm, and I'm scared that if I post after a bunch of losses, the Canucks will, or YouTube, no one will watch, because people don't really want to watch as often after the team loses, and then YouTube will decide that I'm useless and throw me into the trash. So it might be a little more focused on wins more than losses, but I'll try to be here as much as I can. I can't commit to every game, 40 games here on out. There's a reason I did Game Over Vancouver, because it was a 20 to 25 game commitment, a lot easier for me. Because I've got my own hockey and all this other stuff, and sometimes I just can't watch the game. But I will try to be here as much as possible. While you're here, make sure you're subscribed. Hit the notification bell. I'm going to try to make this as good as possible. I threw this little banner together at the bottom just because it looked kind of nice. I don't know what to do with this side yet. And I'm going to hang some stuff on the walls finally. I've lived here for, 4 months now. I should finally do something about it. So yeah. That's it for me tonight. Thank you all very much for joining me. We peaked at 180 people or whatever that was. Thank you very much. I much appreciate you again. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have notifications turned on. Hit the like button while you're here. It helps me out. And thank you all for your interaction. Lucas, thank you for joining back in the VIPs. I know I haven't done anything with that lately. So I'm probably going to revamp that if I'm back here more of the time. Anyways. Go Canucks, go. They're killing it. I love it. Have a good night.